We'll have a different perspective or a similar perspective, we'll see, on the same project by Joseph Mifsud from EMUNI.
Different, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
Those of you who are expecting to have big differences, you will not get big differences. Actually, it will be a continuation. Let me just, I will dwell on some points because I was listening as well to the Bologna comment that you made. Until London, I was a member of the Bologna Follow-up Group, and I had my hand in the writing of the Berlin and the Bergen communique. So I know something about Bologna quite well. Now I'm not in Bologna, so I will not be speaking about Bologna. I will be speaking about EMUNI. Many of you know because we have been discussing and talking. For those of you who do not know, if I can have my presentation, please. This is, how do I get to it? Okay. Okay. I will be speaking about, I've put two words, equivalence and evaluation. And I will tell you why, what it is all about and what we are trying to do. Let me start. I put two quotes up. These are two quotes. These are not my quotes. These are the latest quotes which the European Commission has in a document. On the 5th of October, we invited a number of ministers for higher education from the north and from the south to come to Brussels for a day which was organized by the European Parliament, which was devoted to EMUNI, where we are going, what we wanted to do, and how we should do these things. And these are, a document was prepared. I gave this document to Jacques Kemp. I think you received this document of the 5th of October. I don't know if it is useful, perhaps, to distribute it to everybody, because I think it gives also on the question of Bologna, which was mentioned. There is a document which the European Parliament has put forward with a number of suggestions. I think the suggestions obviously came from the discussion that we had that day, and I think it would inform what you have been discussing, and I think it could be useful. So out of this, what we are trying to do, we are using, and the key words that I would like to use there, they were used by Professor Halal before, are harmonization, which I think is extremely important. Also the idea of employability and competitiveness. So I share with him exactly the same view that we should be looking at qualifications and not the degree in itself, the content of the degree. And also something else which I think is important is the idea of I think that more and more as we go along, many of the what I call just-in-time qualifications need to be done by not one university, but by a conglomerate of more than universities. And I believe this because I believe that the excellence that there is within one institution normally does not cover all the fields. You cannot have a university and have excellence in all its fields. It can have niche areas, even if it's huge and enormous. It can have niche areas, but it cannot cover everything else. Also, when we talk about the academic, I think this came out as well. I had been trying to follow, actually even myself, the MERIC initiative. One of the things that we need to keep in mind is sometimes academia and administrative poles travel in parallel, but do not cross. And I think this creates a number of problems, and we need to focus on this. Okay, just for those of you who have never heard about EMUNI, okay, we are one of the priority projects of the Union for the Mediterranean. We work very closely with the Secretariat of the Union for the Mediterranean just down the road, Pedralbes, here. And we have a mission. We are now 203 institutions from 43 countries. So we are quite large. Many of them are universities, research centers. We put in everybody. Obviously, we are a university. We are based in Slovenia. The government of Slovenia changed the law. And we have an Erasmus charter. We can do a European, obviously, everything. We have one difference. The staff that we use are not all European. Actually, must not be all European, but come from the whole Union for the Mediterranean. So I can use, I don't know, I'm seeing here Yasser Al-Shaib to come and teach one of our courses. I can choose anybody who is an academic within another country who is part of the Union for the Mediterranean actually to come and teach part of the courses that we do. We try to bring excellence. We also focus on issues which other universities or most of the universities do not cater for. So we do not do chemistry, we do not do engineering per se. We cater specifically on areas. We organize seminars, conferences, and other activities. What is the EMUNI formula? I want to give you a build-up so that then we can understand. We have a multi-partner academic institution, so it's not one, but various. Experts from institutions under the umbrella of the Union for the Mediterranean. We use, and we are very much in contact, one of the big projects that we have is actually with students and scholars that we have at the moment with the Institute of the Mediterranean here in Barcelona, the European Students' Union as well, one of our key partners in this, and others, the Union for the Mediterranean. Corporate and institutional partners like the European Investment Bank, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the World Bank, and others who are operating within the region, not just from the EU point of view, by the way, also from the non-EU side. We use multi-sites, so it's not in Slovenia or in Rome or in Germany, but we could use Fez. We can use, I don't know, Cairo, Alexandria, we can use Damascus, anywhere that there is a center which could host an activity of EMUNI. And we have used these 3 years various. We are looking, and this is the objective, of joint qualifications, some joint certification, but that is not the most important. And most important for us as well is to how to look at quality assurance, because we feel that this has to be tackled. That's why I put equivalence and evaluation. Excuse me. We also try to come up with what I call a bottom-up approach with national support, and we've had national support. Just for you to know, for example, the 20 members of the Senate of EMUNI, 10 coming from the north and 10 from the south, represent institutions. For example, I heard the lady previously mentioning Jordan. The president, the member of the Senate of the representing the Jordanian universities is your now current Minister for Higher Education, Science and Technology, Her Excellency Roaida Matah. We've had others like that. I don't know if there is somebody from Bulgaria here, but for example, the Bulgarian Minister for Universities also, he was and still is very much involved with EMUNI as one of the people who are sitting on our boards in terms of, for example, quality assurance. Also, I use your phrase, where is we are, I told him that I was using this. This is, we've picked it up from him, but I think, I'm talking about Minister Helal, the idea of brain circulation and not brain drain. So we are very much focused on this, the idea of moving people around and trying to share not just the scholars, not just the students, but also the professors and the academics. Your criterion for equivalence is very close. You will see that it is exactly the same, almost the same. Higher education systems, duration, course content and examinations, admission criteria, status of institution inside the country of registration. So we look at this. Recognition of the qualification in the country of award, where the university is going to award. And then we make this equivalence as well. You came to it at the end, which is this one, the professional, what I call professional, vocational, or even generalistic equivalence. What are we talking about in terms of when we have, for example, a joint degree? Is it going to be a professional degree, a vocational degree, a degree which is specifically tied to professional, or generalistic? It's also, we're looking at bilateral or, because these exist as well, multilateral agreements. You know that the Union for the Mediterranean is not just the north and south. There is also Southeast Europe there, and there are a number of agreements which are in place because of the confederation element. If you look at Bosnia-Herzegovina, for example, Republika Srpska has an agreement which is a multilateral agreement. It's not a bilateral agreement per se. We also look at another thing which I think is important. It was mentioned before, the informal, formal, non-formal prior recognition. What the students bring. This is something which I think is extremely important. And also the lifelong learning and permanent education. I go back a bit to the vocational and to the professional. Yesterday, just to give you an example, and talking about brain circulation, not brain drain here, European Commissioner Malmström mentioned that in health, for example, they will need next year 2 million people. 2 million. As I speak, figures, the Times Educational Supplement recently ran an advert in this sense, when we're talking about equivalence and about quality. The United Kingdom, for example, accepted degrees coming from Asia faster, with much more verve, let's put it this way, or enthusiasm, than degrees coming from the south of the Mediterranean or from the Southeast Europe. Question is, why? Why has this happened? So, a person coming from X country, I will not try to, we could mention, Bangladesh, for example, in terms of nursing, has a better chance of being employed in that field, having a degree obtained in that country or in the region, than somebody coming from a region which is within the European neighborhood. What have we been doing with the senior office? Some is the senior officials. It's a group representing each one of your countries who are in the room. All the countries who are members of the European Union or form part of the Union for the Mediterranean are also involved, have a representative within the Union for the Mediterranean, which looks at labels. We have approved these programs, which we have here. One is on maritime and land highways. I come here from another conference. I could not be here this morning because of this, which is also specifically looking at investment in this field. Another one on business development initiative, specifically to the Mediterranean. One on risk management. We're doing this with a number of universities from France, where we are looking at the type of risks that one can have, financial, natural risks, but also other types of risks. For example, the risk of planning a country to go in one direction without the human capacity to actually support that strategic direction. And then another one on depollution of the Mediterranean, looking at how to combat pollution within the Mediterranean. In all these programs, by the way, there are some here who have been involved, their hands in the pie. All these programs have academics coming from your institutions. I have academics coming from your institutions. They were not done by Italians or French or Germans or English. They were coming from groups of people, different nationalities, different type of experts, put together by EMUNI. And they have been working very, very closely. I will show an example of what we did, specifically to come up with a new product, bringing in and keeping in mind all what we have said and all what you have heard before me. Also, this was a request by the Union for the Mediterranean, was to have 3 PhD programs, which will be launching very, very soon on good governance and public policy development, one on education administration, leadership and organization development, and the other one in human rights, institution building, and democratization. Let's say, what kind of evaluation, when we are planning, when we are trying to do, when this program, for example, for a master program, has been produced? What do we do with it? We take it, we have what we call a study affairs commission, and I will show you the universities who have representatives on this, in which we look at the program that these common experts have done together. We look at the consistency of the program with the EMUNIs. And I think you mentioned this at the last thing, the idea of mission of the degree. So we look at the mission and the academic plan. We look at clarity and appropriateness of the program's requirements and associated learning outcomes in addressing the university's graduate degree level expectations. And also the appropriateness of the degree organization. These are some of the experts, institutions that we have used, and you could see quite a lot there, that we have used to look at the degrees, various institutions, according to the type of degrees, to the type of program that we were building. So we looked at this. This was normally done at the rector or vice-rector level, who were coming together and giving us advice, changing, tweeting, suggesting new ideas to the program. And when it went through all of this, there was also another group, which is made up of 5 presidents of universities, who had a final look. Again, here we are at a bottoms-up approach. We are not looking at national structures. We are looking at institutions. What are the main objectives? What do we want to come up with? We want to come up at the idea of what I call applied degrees, degrees which have a usefulness to the applied system. Use of the multiple sites, for us it is very crucial to use this. One thing which was mentioned, and I think that I would like to, perhaps, this was not a question that I couldn't ask him a question because I was going to come up. But one of the things that we have to start thinking about is also not just north-south or south-north, but also south-south dimension. What about a degree obtained in Morocco and taken to Jordan or to Lebanon? What will happen there? I just put it as a question. This is a question that one can think of. I can change Morocco, Jordan, and Lebanon with 3 other countries. It could be 3 other countries which have, not just at the academic level recognition, because academic level recognition, I think we will not find much problems because we are in a group of academics that one would understand what he or she wants to do. The use of multiple experts, the Union for the Mediterranean, as I mentioned, real partners. This is another thing that I feel that we should, and people from the Commission here are present. I am very, very critical on this issue. The idea of having what I call real partners, not sleeping or what I call for application partners. You know that sometimes to do an application within the EU, you find a partner just for the sake of completing the criteria of eligibility. We have to be real partners. So the real partners mean that if I have somebody from Malta, so that nobody is the Maltese has a say in what he or she says in terms of what is being done, not he is or she is there just for the number. So this is extremely important. Also, the use of multiple pedagogies. This is very interesting for us because we have to look at the idea of innovation in terms of pedagogies, including blended methodologies. For example, private and public sector has been mentioned, but what about the use as well of distance learning? I'm not saying we are doing it. I'm just saying that it exists in the world that we are operating with. Also, I feel very strongly about this point, the linking to regions, municipalities, local councils, national agendas, and different stakeholders. Why am I mentioning these? Because there is no, how would I call it, a set menu that you can take. This is not a set menu. Even in equivalence, it depends what we are talking about. It depends what will work. We also have to be, in my opinion, realistic as much as possible. Also, I believe before we clear, I don't want to be a champion of Bologna, but before we clear Bologna, we have to find a way, I agree with the previous speaker, that we have to find a way of actually engaging with Bologna. You know, some questions come to mind. Why is Australia, for example, so keen in linking up to Bologna, being a member of Bologna, and a country which is on the neighborhood of the EU should not have the same right? This is something, you know, for me, creates problems. Why? Because I am not saying that it should be, how would I call it, exported, but there could be a harmonization, there could be a link in which, you know, the idea of Bologna. By the way, the biggest supporters, just for you to know, the biggest supporters for the diploma supplement were not the institutions, were not even corporate interest. It was the students who put a lot of emphasis on the diploma supplement. So this is extremely important that we do. Also, the idea of development of new programs, and I put a comma there, together, which is, I think, important. Then there are other things. The admission requirements, which I've mentioned, the explanation, the use of the recognition of prior learning or work, which I think is important, and also the structures. What I've put up here are things which I think are important when one has to have a recognition of these areas. Also, the ways in which the curriculum addresses the current state of the discipline, the identification of unique curriculum or program innovations, and something as well is the research part, which is the research-focused graduate programs that we have come to put into that. Mode of delivery and other things that we have put. I just put here 6 areas, 6 lines in terms of the overall assessment. I don't want to continue, but perhaps it would be more lively to have an interaction on this. But the depth and breadth of knowledge that the new programs might be having, the kind of research that is embedded in it, the level of the application of the knowledge, professional capacity, what will the student or the scholar actually get out of following this type of course? Is it needed now or in the near future? The level of communication skills, the soft skills that we were mentioning as well, and also the awareness of the limits of the knowledge that one is presenting. I have, and I would be very willing to share it with you, not today, but in an informal manner for the project, for example, the evaluation templates for all our master programs. So these were done, again, with a group of students, group of academics and experts coming from the region, in which they were giving advice, offering ideas of how programs can be developed together. We have this on the list that I gave previously. I think this would be very, very useful. I would like to leave with one thing which I think, in my opinion, is extremely important. I would go for 2, if I may, or 3 suggestions that I would like to push. First of all, I would like us to speak more of harmonization than anything else. So it is not the taking of one system and putting it into another, but trying to see as much as possible the idea of harmonization. Harmonization is not just, again, north-south, but also south-south dimension. This is number 1. 2, I have been urging, and I urge again the European Commission to take this up. You know, before you drive, anybody who drives, normally, unless you know the road, you get information. How long will it take me? Do I pass through this street? Is it good if I take this turn? We are driving blind in higher education within the Euromed region. We are driving blind. Why? Because no real foresight exercise has been taken. In my opinion, the next step should be a foresight exercise. What do I mean a foresight? The European Commission sponsored a big project with South America in terms of the tuning project. Some of you are aware of this. Why can't we have a tuning project for the Mediterranean area? This would be something which would make us absolutely I think it is crucial, because it would allow us to drive with our eyes open. And the very last thing is also important. Without offending anybody, I still believe that a bottoms-up approach in higher education in terms of collaboration, especially in this field, I think the Algerian colleague mentioned the fact that the question was, are universities able? Of course they are able. I believe that, in my opinion, we are, and the universities should be, able to actually take the bull by the horns and actually say, this for us is fine, this needs an upgrade, not just for the academic recognition, but also for the professional recognition, especially if that degree is going to be used within the context of the area or the region that it is going to be presented for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I suppose you are willing to take a few questions. Will you be on the panel, or will you have to leave before the panel?
At what time is the panel?
Let
me explain why, because I don't...
No, maybe the others should know. It's scheduled for 4 o'clock. It might be a little bit later, but I just want to know, because if you have to leave after this
I don't think I will be able to...
Okay.
Because I am sorry that I'm leaving, sorry.
No.
Because I have the General Assembly of EMUNI in Lisbon, and I have the President of the European Commission coming to that. Plus a number of other people, so I have to be there.
No, I think we fully understand. It would simply mean that we allow more time now for you, and we'll see in what way we proceed with the rest of the day. Okay, I have the two ladies here and the gentleman over there.
I just have 3 brief questions. One question is, you really mentioned something about, which is a very important point, about the brain circulation and not the brain drain, regarding your formula, the EMUNI formula. I see it in a way, it's really encouraging brain drain, because how do we make sure that this expert, he or she, will not go back to his own country? Because this is one of the main problems that we face, for example, in Jordan.
Absolutely.
And of course, there are multi-factors for this problem. The second question, you talked about the study programs you have, and I just by seeing the titles, it seems that they are focusing on more interdisciplinary, just by reading the title. What is there really advantage or there are disadvantages for that? And the third also question, which I will be really brief, is regarding the evaluation criteria. You just mentioned points, but I would love to see feedback or a case study of some of the figures, numbers of evaluation, and how it is with your study programs, just to have an idea how successful are these programs. Thank you.
Okay. The first question is very easy. Let me answer them. First question is easy. Perhaps it is my fault, because I did not explain myself properly. I did not say that the degree will be done in Europe. I never said it. I never said that the degree will be done in Europe. The degree could be done at the Jordanian University for Science and Technology. The degree can be done at the Hashemite University in Jordan. The degree can be done at the University of Alexandria. The degree can be done at the University of Cairo. So I am not saying that the degree is done in Europe. Actually, the mobility, and now we have to start talking about, is not just mobility north-south. South-north, but also the mobility north-south. Students who actually study within another country. I had the experience of visiting a number of, I'm sure it's the same in other countries, but I look at our Moroccan friends. I've been to 6 universities in Morocco where they have embedded students coming to do a degree inside European students, coming to do a degree with recognition of ECTS, by the way, with recognition of ECTS, inside their institutions, at Meknes, at Rabat, at Fez. I'm just giving examples of real examples. So the degree is very easy. I'm not saying it's in Europe. This is number 1. 2, why did we choose those subjects? It was not me. It was your representatives. The countries agreed on 6 priority areas in which they will tackle everything together. These are the 6 areas that they were tackling. So we only are giving a degree in support of an objective, which was agreed not by us, but by others. The third one, I already offered to the, I can't show you today, but I have, if I continue to show, I just, look, I had prepared, for example, the one on civil protection and disaster management, there is the evaluation there. Okay? So what we can, it's already being given there. So I did prepare that, what I can do. The degree is not, I am not saying I tie a degree, I mentioned this. For example, let me give a very small example. The university, I have to give an example concrete. The University of Alexandria in Egypt, okay, has a center of marine archaeology, which is considered within the region and within the Euromed region as top priority. If I wanted to do a study program in that field, I would not do it in, I don't know, in Slovenia. I would do it there, because there is where the center of excellence lies. So we are linked very much to what the centers of excellence tells us. Also, that expertise does not lie in the north only. We are academics, colleagues. I know many of my colleagues here. You know, we are at the same plane, actually better. So why always take? So the idea of brain circulation is that. That is what we will need to do. Also, that some people, even from your countries, are suggesting that after a short period of time working abroad, people do tend to come back, or might come back. Yes, might. Unemployment, graduate unemployment, youth unemployment is also very, very important that one should keep in mind. So we have to be absolutely, in my opinion, with an open mind on this.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm from the Hashemite University, since you mentioned.
Sorry.
I have three very brief questions. One, if we were interested to apply to start a program, does this start at the university level, or can it start at an individual level and then go up? That's number one. Number two, is the institution, does it include research as well? To apply together for research grants and then to host it in a center, say, at the Hashemite University? And who would we contact for that? And third, what is the experience using distance learning, as you mentioned, as an example of different methods of instruction? Since at the Hashemite University we have a center for e-learning that is a center of excellence in Jordan and the Middle East. Thank you.
Okay. But very easy. First question, yes, it could be either individual or institutional. So individual can say, listen, I would like to do something. This is number one. In terms of the Hashemite University itself, the president of the university, now you lost the president, had set up, I have the contact points for that, so you could speak to them, actually one person. And just as an aside, I will be organizing EMUNI, the research souk, the research market this year, which was organized last year in Lebanon. This year, it will be organized between the Hashemite University in Jordan and the University of Murcia in Spain. This is when we target for 180, around that number, of young graduates who present research projects which otherwise would have been on the shelf and nobody would have looked at. So we try to take them out, show them, and we invite, for example, other institutions, like this time it will be the European Investment Bank, in a specific program, to look at these projects, because these are projects which could be taken on board.
Okay. There's the gentleman here and the gentleman over there.
Mohammed Sahim from Ain Shams University.
From?
Ain Shams University, Cairo, yeah. My question regarding such transboundary cooperation bodies. Three items that keep on popping to my mind regarding its sustainability.
Yeah.
One is the political sustainability, because definitely once it was initiated with a huge political support, not only from the hosting, but also from all contributing agencies and countries. The second is economic sustainability. Now maybe you're receiving funds from the EU, from participating countries, but that body has to find somehow a workable, sustainable economic model, which would make it sustainable behind or beyond the funding phase, and yet maintaining its merit and what is being promoted right now at its excellence point. The third, which I think is more of a critical point, is academic sustainability, because right now you're relying more on this network. And the network means that you have a contact here or a contact there, but then how that will not be at the end act as just coordinating body, but not a real entity in itself.
Okay. Let us start with the first one. The first one was how will it remain as a priority? I think it will remain very much as a priority, at least from the European side. The interest in terms of the EU for this project is, I started with a quote from the EU. This is the latest document. I'm just telling you that I have to go to Lisbon because the President of the European Commission is coming. I think he would not come if he did not feel that he could give political support to this. Also, we're working very closely with the European Commission on the European Neighbourhood Policy and the enlargement, Stephen Füle, from the European side. There will be a representative as well. We have been talking very closely with the League of Arab States, the higher education councils of all the other countries, because they are not either part of the League of Arab States or of the European Union, are very much involved with us. They will be present also in this weekend. Also, when EMUNI was set, when the Union for the Mediterranean was set up, the Gulf Cooperation Council was also invited. They have continued, and now I come to the second point, in terms of financing. EMUNI is financed with service contracts directly by the Commission. So we have a sustainable direct. This year, the European Parliament has managed to get for EMUNI a direct budget line. Like, it's not something out of this world, because other institutions which operate within the EU have this budget line. Let me give an example. The College of Europe in Bruges has a budget line which it receives from the European institutions. And we, 2012, will have a proper budget line specifically on the activities. How do we use this? This is not used for the administrative purposes, because when Slovenia decided to act and to host it, it agreed that it would take up the administrative load, financial load, for 5 years, another 5 years, and they have been actually extended. The load, the financial agreement or the financial support that the Commission will give to EMUNI will go directly to the academic board. We do not wish to have to take outside, because it will tie in to what the lady was asking me. We could easily make a call and employ 43 people, for example, specifically to work only with us, coming from the region. But this would deprive the institutions in which they are working out of the brain power that they are offering them. So we would like them to continue to do that. I think on the three issues, we are very much working very, very closely. Also, I did not mention this, but I have made 2 presentations. The last one was done very recently to the Union for the Mediterranean, where all the countries were present. All the countries were represented. We had full support by the countries at the national level in terms of what we have been doing. They would like us to continue to operate in this manner.
Okay.
I would like to bring some points concerning the equivalence of degrees of diplomas. Sorry, Mohammed from Rabat University. 2 or 3 things relate to that. First, in Morocco, sometimes my colleague will have more to say about that. We divided between, or separated between, an academic equivalency, which would be done internally by each university yeah. when they're accepting somebody to register for a higher degree.
I know that.
And then the other official national degree, because that is the Ministry of Finance who requires that. The problem that is posed at that level is the state doesn't want to relinquish its power over the national diploma. That gives it a certain kind of identity. That makes it different from the diploma that is being brought from Russia or from America or from any other country. I don't know what your take on that. The second point is the anticipating equivalency may require from us to involve as many universities as possible to be ready to sign in the same degree. A degree would be signed by Morocco, but signed also by other countries. Okay? That could anticipate a number of problems, a number of solutions. And then, of course, the next step following that is to create maybe a commission to work on validating some syllabi for particular degrees, to avoid what Dr. Hani said earlier on. Okay, he didn't do math 106 at certain stage, therefore would not qualify for, or for example, didn't do religious studies for particular degrees in Morocco, and therefore I cannot give him or her degree, or the equivalent to the degree. In a sense, find a way of universalizing at the level of the Mediterranean. I mean, these solutions or these proposals to the solutions to the problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to start with the first question, but it is a very, very important question, And I would like to underline what I'm going to say. Perhaps we are not aware, or not everybody is aware, that the legal value of degrees is not only in countries in the South, but also in EU countries, as we speak. Let me give an example. In Italy, the degree that you get has a legal value, has an official national recognition of that degree. If I apply for a job, they will ask me if I have a degree which has legal value. So it is not just a case of South or not EU or EU. Some of the countries inside the EU attribute nationally legal value to the degree. Some countries do not attribute legal value to the degree. So this is extremely important to the first question that you asked. In my opinion, and I think if you really want to internationalize, if you really want to have on the ground an international university, so students which do not only come from the region or from the area, catchment area that the university is working with, but also abroad. Also to have the validity of that degree, the status of that degree. I think this was mentioned as well in the presentation before. I think it is extremely crucial that the idea of, for example, mutual recognition of degrees between universities is embarked on. How do you do that? One of the best ways, in my opinion, this is my modest opinion, is also to involve outside, and I'm sure that many of you already do this, they don't need to be told this, outside academics, like you are used as outside academics to other degrees, to change a bit the face of that degree. So it is not just a simple degree given by one department within one structure. You have others. One of the things that I think if we have failed or not failed, but I think it is a plus side for EMUNI, is that every time that there is a course we do, for example, it is an intensive program funded by the EU, an IP, on Euro-Mediterranean International Studies. The professors in that group are not from Europe. They are from everywhere. We change them. We bring new ones. So that we try to give the possibility of a student actually to, if we're talking about Euro-Mediterranean relations and only somebody from the EU is going to speak to them, I think it will have one point of view. And the same about the other projects. For example, I look at the program on civil protection and disaster management, which I wanted to show. And many of the insights were given by people from the South about tackle this, think about this. The same issues when one talks about alternative energy, for example, which is another one of our programs.
Okay. I think we have exploited you to the full, if I may say so. We will now go into the coffee break, and we will reconvene after 20 minutes. We will reconvene, then we will have Tim's presentation. I will ask the panelists to sit out here already during Tim's presentation, and we will then fuse his presentation into the panel.